Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah!
We got it! We got it!
New 52 booklet.
Somebody clip this one.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Comics League Comic Talk. I'm Jared, and today, all right, I originally planned to do a video on the problem with the Superman fandom, but what I realized is that a lot of the issues when I was coming up with my list, a lot of the issues that I came up with for that list applied to the larger DC fandom, not just the Superman group. So I figured, you know what? Let me try this out. And this is also coming specifically from after the reaction to Zack Snyder and Joe Rogan. So I figured, screw it, I'll try this out. So note that I am in no way, I just want to start off, I am in no way applying this to the entire DC fandom. In no way do I do that. I am just referring to the very, very, very vocal minority who make these types of discussions not fun at all. Okay, let's get started. Number one, gatekeeping. And I've run into this for ever since I joined the DC fandom, because let's face it, I'm a Snyder fan that thinks Superman should be with Wonder Woman and that hates Lois Lane. I am like the blackest of sheep in this fandom. And I can't even count how many times on Twitter I'll just post stuff. Like I post essentially promoting an episode or something like that, and I'll get called a Snyder cultist or something like that. And I'm like, all I'm saying is that I like his movies, or that this is why I don't like Lois Lane. Hell, my very first big video that went crazy was my Lois Lane sucks video, which granted I shouldn't have titled it in that way. That's most likely one of the contributing factors. But still, what I learned from that is that what I saw in the comments was people telling me to shut down my channel. People told me to go F myself just because I had a different opinion about a character. And here's the part that these people don't realize, that look, I get you're passionate about these characters, but that's what they are. They're characters. You can love them. I understand that for a lot of people, these were very important to them. I get it. They're important to me too. No reason to attack someone that has a different opinion than you. And let's not forget being called a tourist just because it's I like Zack Snyder's movies. And then I show them my comic book collection and go, yeah, try that again. So there's that. The next one is the stuck on nostalgia. Now, this is something Sam Liu said when he came on the show, and to a certain degree, I get it. He said that when you come into the DC fans, when you first get into comics or DC or Marvel or what have you, you get very attached to the era, to the way DC looked when you came in. With me, it was the new 52. With a lot of people, it was post-crisis. And you think that that's the way these characters should always be. The problem is that when you don't have the sales figures to back it up, because at least with me, for the first year or two of the new 52, it sold very well because it was starting fresh. The problem is when you get to Rebirth or something like that, and everyone's like, oh, that was a massive hit. Actually, objectively, it wasn't. According to comic book store owners, it wasn't. It was barely critically reviewed. A lot of their books were floundering, and it didn't work. It gets into number 3, but before I get to number 3, I'm going to bring up we encounter this a lot with the movies where people think that Christopher Reeve is the only version of Superman that's valid. And I'm like, well, no. And even Reeve wanted a different version of Superman when he was done. So I don't know where they're coming up with this. And again, I understand it completely. That you have a certain way that you see this character because those movies are very meaningful to you. And you are more than welcome to have that. Just don't attack people that like a different version than you like, because again, like you said, because I've had so many people say, well, I'm sorry, this is the way the characters were when I came in. I'm like, New 52 is the way I was, and you guys continue to bash me, so practice what you preach. Next, typically not concerned with the sales / health of a company. I can't count how many times I've been in civil debates with people. I'll bring up the sales and they'll go, I don't care about the sales, or sales are irrelevant. And I'm like, what do you mean sales are irrelevant? The company's floundering by their own admission, and you want them to go back to an era that led to more floundering, like, say, bringing back post-crisis. This is why Rebirth was not the biggest hit that people think it was, because it went back to the period of creative stagnation and sales stagnation that led to DC needing the New 52 by Dan DiDio's own admission. So there is that. Number 4, either not reading the books or reading parts. There are a couple of ways I classify this. First off, in Wonder Woman, I think 2 by Tom King, it shows her fighting in the arena. And it's basically a recreation of like her earning the right to be Wonder Woman. And one of the Sovereign's monologue throughout that scene is actually very interesting because he addresses both origins. And he says, there's one version of the story where she is Clay. Twitter took that as he's bringing back the Clay origin, when all you had to do was read the next page where it said, or she's the daughter of Zeus, or you've heard the other version of the story. So I'm like, you just have to read the book and not be impulsive. That's it. I get that you're excited, 100%. It's just when you're not, because here's the thing. If you get really excited and then you they acknowledge the Zeus origin, you could be very disappointed. I'm trying to save you from that. And also, a lot of times, by their own admission, they don't read certain books. Like put this way, I can't even count how many people have bashed Superman and Wonder Woman, make up stuff about the pairing, like stuff they said, stuff that happened in the book. And I'm like, if you read the book, none of this happened. Or if you actually read the New 52, this is why I'm convinced they haven't, you would see that that literally nothing you said happened. Like, they don't. Superman is like much more out of character in their version than he ever was in the New 52. And then number 5, pirating comic books. And it came out that, and this goes toe in toe or hand in hand with another issue I have, is that it came out that by Mark Millar, he did a study. Well, he didn't do a study. He just shared a study that said that like less than 10% of the comic book reading audience, of the actual audience of Marvel and DC, are on Twitter. So that means that by catering to Twitter, they're catering to, by that definition, a minority. And then you factor into the fact that these groups openly brag about pirating books to read them. And I'm like, if you're not going to actually support the companies, I don't think they should take you seriously when you come up with, this is the way the character should be. Okay, buy the books. Actually do that. Buy them physically, digitally, it doesn't matter. Support the company. If you're not going to do that, DC should take your opinion less seriously. That's just my opinion on that. Now, again, those are my 5 problems with the DC fandom. Once again, this is aimed at a minority of fans, because most of the DC fandom is pretty chill. They're cool. I'm going to give you that. Most of them, even like the anti-Snyders on the side of the DC, they're like, okay, you know what? I don't like those movies. You have an argument. That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. It's just when you get to the extreme portion of DC and the group that DC seems to favor to that I really take issue with this. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed this this analysis. Drop below comments of your pet peeves with the DC fandom. And be sure to check out this week's episode of Super Wonder Legacy, where Britt and I, in detail, go over, practically panel by panel, the Charles Soule Superman and Wonder Woman book from the new 52. I'll leave a card up top. Anyway, stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane, and she belongs with General Zod. See you later.